What's up, guys? Hey, we're doing the CrossFit video like we do our home videos. My whoop band, which is charging right now, told me that today is not a good day to exercise, that I'm not recovered enough, so I'm gonna listen to it. If you don't have something that tracks your fitness like that, you should go out and get one. It's really beneficial to helping you recovery and feel good in each and every workout and apply the best you can. Today's CrossFit workout's one that's very fun, right? Like, very fun meaning that you get to work with a barbell if you have that capability, and it's something that you could kind of build up into some heavy weight. So the workout starts with a snatch complex where we're moving quick on a power snatch to pull the bar overhead. Then we're moving quick in a different way with a squat snatch to get underneath it, and then reaching up against the bar and trying to hit a nice overhead squat. With some of the more experienced athletes, more experienced people, you're gonna be able to move the bar and try to build up to a heavy load. You're not gonna get a whole lot of volume in there just because that complex is got a lot of moving parts, but you'll be able to work up to something heavy, kind of really fill it out. If you feel like hitting maybe one or two at a heavy, great. Newer people that are trying to still work on these movements, maybe keep the load pretty light and moderate and do like 5 sets of that complex at a moderate weight. Really focus on pulling yourself underneath the bar and really reaching up against the bar when you go to do those overhead squats. The metcon today is 2 4-minute EMOMs, right? So a total of 8 minutes of work with a 2-minute rest between each one. Every minute on the minute, you're gonna do 5 burpees followed by as many squat snatches as you can get, right? So 5 burpees doesn't seem like that much, but when you're doing 40 of them, it can kind of really add up, especially with the amount of snatches we're gonna be hoping to do. We wanna keep that burpee into about a 20-second range. So either modify the reps that you're doing or modify the movement like to an up, down, or something where you kind of shorten the range of motion to make it a little bit faster, a little bit quicker cycle rate. On the squat snatch, I want that to be a squat. Now, if you're having some knee issues or something like that, then do a power snatch, but the squat snatch, for one, is that it's a little bit slower movement. Because of the greater range of motion of actually pulling the bar up and then pulling yourself under, it's gonna be a little bit slower. So you're gonna actually appreciate moving a little bit slower on that squat snatch, right? The goal there is to do touch and go reps, hoping between 5 and 10 reps every single time. You only wanna work for the total minute for about 45, 50 seconds. That way you're giving yourself enough transition time to be ready to do the burpees. They're not burpees over the bar, they're just regular burpees so you can really bang them out fast, right? Take advantage of that 2-minute rest, sit, do whatever you need to do, catch your breath, and then the real goal is if you get 40 reps on the first EMOM, that you're getting close to 40 reps on the second EMOM. So the snatch complex today is a pretty common one in snatching worlds, right? It's 1 power snatch plus 1 squat snatch plus 1 overhead squat. You're doing those unbroken, so you're not stopping anywhere. If you need to do a quick regrip after the power snatch on the ground to do the squat snatch, do it, but just try to make it a pretty consecutive movement here. Spend some time warming up today. Don't just jump into snatching. You need to make sure that your shoulders are opened up, and you need to make sure your hips are opened up for some good squatting and good positioning underneath the bar. If you find yourself not warmed up enough, you're gonna know real quick and that bar is gonna go forward, you're gonna be on your toes in your squat. When we're trying to do these snatches, when we're hitting our warm-up, we wanna make sure of a couple things as we're going through our progressions, right? We wanna make sure that every snatch that we do makes a little bit of hip contact, even with an empty barbell or a PVC pipe in the warm-up. Make a little bit of hip contact. That's gonna help trigger to your brain like, hey, it's time to jump, which will eventually make you a better snatcher, a better lifter in general. Right? So a little bit of hip contact, and then after that hip contact that we're focusing on pulling that bar straight up our body, right? Getting those elbows up as high as we can, almost like we're trying to take our shirt off and slide it up our chest, right? That's gonna ensure that we get a good bar path. Now, what makes a good snatch is that snappy turnover. So after our elbows get up, popping the hands around into a snappy turnover is key, right? As you get better at that turnover, it becomes timing that butt going back in the receiving position, right? So in a power snatch, we're not going into a full squat, we're just going into like this quarter squat, right? Now that snappy turnover and that jump to that quarter squat is what's gonna make that snatch efficient. And as you get better at snatching, that quarter squat can turn to a half squat, and that half squat can turn to a full squat. But it has to be a snappy turnover and it has to be a jump into that position, and that's what you're working on today. Whenever you do go into a squat with the bar overhead, we wanna make sure that we're reaching up against that bar the whole time. Like we're almost trying to shrug our shoulders into our ears, and we're holding up the world, keeping it from falling down as if we're Atlas. So that's very important to keeping our shoulders healthy, and also receiving a snatch in a squat does take some stability in the shoulders to make sure that you don't lose it. So if the bar gets a little wonky on you, if you're shrugging up against it, you have a better chance of saving that snatch. So the snatch complex is building up to a heavy of 1 power snatch, 1 squat snatch, 1 overhead squat. Now the metcon today is 2 4-minute EMOMs of burpees and squat snatches. So should have a pretty good idea of what we can move when we get to that squat snatch. The weight isn't very heavy, but the idea of that is that you can cycle the bar pretty fast, right? We want 5 to 10 squat snatches every single time. One thing that I find people do a lot on when we're trying to go faster on these squat snatches is that they try to cut that rep a little bit short, meaning that they stop finishing the extension at the top. Make sure that you're getting that extension, make sure that you're touching your thighs. Now, one thing that I do when I'm trying to cycle a barbell a little bit faster, especially a light barbell on a snatch, is I cheat my hands in a little bit, so I hit a little bit lower on my thighs. Whenever I'm snatching for max load, I hit high up in my hips. On my snatches where I'm cycling the barbell on a metcon, hit a little bit lower. I still want to hit just because that tells my brain it's time to jump. If I'm jumping, I'm using less arms, and eventually it's going to allow me to do more reps later if I'm using my legs to lift the bar rather than my arms. If you don't have a barbell, use a dumbbell, use a kettlebell, and do power snatches if you can. Maybe you do 1 minute of as many power snatches with a dumbbell as you can, and then the next minute you do as many goblet squats as you can. That way you're kind of getting the same stimulus, and give it a go that way. Whatever it is, we want to make sure that during that minute of work, we're working 45, 50 seconds as hard as we can, and then we're trying to match our reps on the back end. Today's workout is fun because we get to move a barbell, we get to kind of get our heart rate up in a interval style fashioned workout, which is always great, it's always fun. So get after it today. We'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully the whoop band says I'm ready to go. See you next time.